Speed, invincibility, adrenaline, Fast and Furious. 2001 exploded onto the screen like a whirlwind. But behind the dazzling glamour lay fates Hollywood prefers to ignore. Fame, addiction, prison, and loss. After the film ended, what really happened to the cast? Join us as we explore who they truly became and celebrate their lasting legacy in 2026. Vin Diesel as Dominic Toretto. Vin Diesel, whose real name is Mark Sinclair, was born on July 18, 1967, in California, USA. In 2001, at the age of 34, he took on the role of Dominic Toretto, a cold-blooded street gang leader willing to sacrifice his life for his family in the Fast and Furious films. That role didn't just create an icon, it tied Diesel's life to a brand that never allowed him to show weakness. Behind the fame lay a private life filled with quiet, constant tension. His long-term relationship with Paloma Jimenez, which began in 2007, has produced 3 children, but they are not married. This seemingly stable relationship has been constantly challenged by exhausting work schedules and long periods of separation. Diesel rarely speaks about his family life publicly, but those close to him reveal that his prolonged absences on the sets of Fast 5 and Fast and Furious 6 have caused their relationship to suffer more from silence than from conversation. Keeping his private life secret wasn't about peace, but about protecting his family from the storm of fame. The biggest tragedy came in 2013 with the death of Paul Walker. Diesel lost not just a co-star, he had lost a close friend. The pressure of maintaining the franchise after Furious 7 pushed him into prolonged burnout, insomnia, obsessive responsibility, and guilt. He was forced to take on the voice of Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy while still shouldering the responsibilities of Toretto. The underlying cracks continued to build. The 2016 conflict with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson exposed years of simmering tension, while the 2023 sexual assault allegations dealt a heavy blow to the image of a man who always spoke of his family. Diesel faced public scrutiny, legal pressure, and a heavy silence in his personal life all at once. Today, Vin Diesel is 59 years old and remains a central power figure in the Fast and Furious franchise, serving as both the lead actor and producer. He continues to work relentlessly, as if stopping would mean collapse. His estimated net worth of around $225 million reflects his rare success, but behind that figure lies a life of constant stress. Michelle Rodriguez as Letty Ortiz. Michelle Rodriguez was born on July 12, 1978, in San Antonio, Texas, USA. At the age of 23, she played Letty Ortiz, a strong, resilient woman, in the 2001 film Fast and Furious. That role brought her fame, but also opened the door to a long struggle with herself. Success came too soon, and Rodriguez's love life was constantly falling apart. Public relationships, from Zac Efron to Cara Delevingne, quickly crumbled under the pressure and relentless scrutiny of the media. Michelle openly admitted that she didn't fit in with traditional family life, but beneath that acceptance lay a persistent sense of loneliness. This resulted in a series of drunk driving incidents between 2003 and 2005, short prison sentences, and mandatory rehabilitation programs. While filming Lost and then Avatar in 2009, Michelle was at the peak of her box office success, but also struggled with depression and anxiety. She once said that being forced to appear strong on screen made it impossible for her to acknowledge her vulnerability in real life. Rodriguez also resented how Hollywood treated women. She consistently protested scripts that devalued the character of Letty, and was willing to give up the role if the character was reduced to mere decoration. That stubbornness helped her maintain her identity, but it also made her seem difficult, putting her professional and personal life in constant conflict. Now 48, Michelle Rodriguez is still involved with the Fast and Furious franchise, and has chosen an independent, unmarried life. She is gradually shifting towards film production and more personal projects, as a way to escape the old cycle. Her estimated net worth of around $40 million reflects her resilience and fortitude, but the price she paid was years of internal conflict, loneliness, and emotional wounds that never truly healed. Paul Walker Chongvai Brian O'Connor. Paul Walker was born on September 12, 1973, in Glendale, California, USA. In 2001, at the age of 28, he played Brian O'Connor, an undercover cop with a compassionate heart, caught between the lines of law and brotherhood in the Fast and Furious film series. This role propelled Walker to fame, but also opened up a prolonged period of internal conflict from which he never truly escaped. Behind his gentle smile lay a private life fraught with emotional pressure. His split from Rebecca Soteros in the late 1990s left deep scars, followed by a protracted custody battle over their daughter, Meadow, and years of guilt. Walker was frequently away from home due to his filming schedule. That pressure clung to him throughout the success of Too Fast, Too Furious, and Joyride, as his career soared while his personal life gradually became unbalanced. Instead of seeking stability in marriage, Walker turned to the sea. Surfing, scuba diving, and studying marine life became his ways of relieving stress. But those things also made his life move faster than usual. While filming Into the Blue and Running Scared, Walker faced box office failures, financial pressure, and the fear of being labeled a one-act star. On the afternoon of November 30, 2013, tragedy struck like a major brake failure. A Porsche Carrera GT lost control at high speed, crashed into an obstacle, and burst into flames. Paul Walker died at the age of 40, just seconds after the crash, shocking the world. The Furious 7 film crew had to rely on his brothers to complete the movie. And the moment Brian chose a different path brought millions to tears. When Paul Walker was buried at Forest Lawn Memorial Park Cemetery, he left behind an estimated $25 million in assets. But his greater legacy was the image of a kind man who lived life faster than fate allowed. Brian O'Connor died in the film, and Paul Walker also passed away too soon. Jordana Brewster played Mia Toretto. Jordana Brewster was born on April 26, 1980, in Panama City, Panama. At age 21, she played Mia Toretto, Dom's sister, a woman torn between loyalty to her family and the endless high-speed chases in the Fast and Furious films. Mia's gentle exterior masked a real-life journey filled with pressure and emotional trauma. Early success became a trap. After the Fast and Furious franchise, Brewster became typecast as the beautiful, outcast girl who gradually lost her way. The pressure of appearance and constant, subtle comparisons pushed her into an eating disorder at a young age, a silent battle away from the spotlight. Between roles in films like The Faculty and The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Beginning, Jordana still felt she hadn't been recognized for her true worth. Her marriage to Andrew Form was once a rare source of stability, but it gradually became another burden. 13 years together, 2 young children, and demanding work schedules had created a growing distance between them. The COVID-19 pandemic became the final straw. The end of her marriage in 2020 left Jordana emotionally wounded at a time when her career demanded a return to the Fast and Furious franchise. Following the divorce, Brewster remarried Mason Morfitt in 2022, but balancing her new family, children, and public image remained a challenge. Roles in Dallas and American Crime Story helped her rediscover depth in her acting, but the feeling of having to prove herself again never completely disappeared. Mia Toretto is powerful on screen, while Jordana in real life has learned to get back on her feet one step at a time. Today, Jordana Brewster, 46, continues her journey with the Fast and Furious franchise while choosing a slower pace of life for herself. Her estimated net worth of around $12 million reflects a sustained career, but behind that number are years of enduring pressure related to marriage, appearance, and expectations. Noel Guglielmi as Hector. Noel Guglielmi was born on October 15, 1970 in Santa Monica, California, USA. He was 31 when he played Hector, the fearless Latina street racer, a character who appeared briefly but left a strong impression in the 2001 Fast and Furious film. This role both helped him escape poverty and linked him to a fate that was difficult to escape. Guglielmi's private life began with deep trauma, abandonment, homelessness from the age of 13, and an early involvement in street violence. Those memories continued to haunt him even after he got married. Before marrying Tomasa in 2008, he had been through tumultuous relationships where anger and a violent past constantly disrupted stability. His current marriage has brought him more peace, but it hasn't erased the old ghosts. Throughout his career, being typecast as a Latino gangster became a psychological burden. After the film Training Day and major projects like The Walking Dead, Guglielmi was forced to confront the feeling of being trapped in a mold that Hollywood refused to break. Racial prejudice and financial anxieties led him to constantly question his self-worth. Religious faith became his lifeline. Guglielmi began sharing his life story at churches and schools as a way to seek redemption for his past. His return as Hector in later Fast and Furious films was no longer about fame, but a reminder of the journey he had made from the depths of despair. Noel Guglielmi, now 56, lives a slower-paced life with his family and as a counselor. His estimated net worth of around $750,000 may be modest by Hollywood standards, but for someone who was once homeless and nearly lost his life to violence, it's a testament to a life reclaimed. Ted Levine as Sergeant Tanner. Ted Levine was born on May 29, 1957, in Bel Air, Ohio, USA. In 2001, at the age of 44, he played Sergeant Tanner, Brian O'Connor's cold and authoritative superior in the Fast and Furious films. It was a small role, but it put him in familiar territory. A powerful, unpredictable man. The shadow of Buffalo Bill from The Silence of the Lambs haunted Levine for years, creating persistent tension in his career. He was typecast into villainous roles, forced to accept psychologically demanding characters while audiences continued to view him with unease. During that period, Levine threw himself into work to maintain balance, from the pressures of the job to enjoyable outings, as if stopping would mean being overwhelmed by stereotypes. Fortunately, family life became one of his few strong anchors. His long-term relationship with Kim Phillips helped Levine stay strong amidst the pressures of being typecast into a certain kind of role. That stability was demonstrated on screen when he found his breakthrough role as Captain Stottlemyre in The Monk, which helped him break free from the typical villain image and gain professional recognition. However, escaping that old image wasn't easy. Levine continued to choose challenging and edgy characters in American Gangster, Shutter Island, and The Alienist, aiming for psychological depth rather than safe choices. It was the choice of an actor who understood that lasting fame comes from substance, not from pleasing the masses. By 2026, Ted Levine will be 69 years old and still actively working at a steady pace. His estimated net worth of around $6 million reflects perseverance rather than explosive fame, a career built on discipline, a stable family life, and the ability to stand firm in the shadow of his own glorious past. Rick Yun as Johnny Tran. Rick Yun was born on August 22, 1971, in Washington, D.C., USA. In 2001, at the age of 30, he appeared in the Fast and Furious films as Johnny Tran, the cold, violent leader of a rival street racing gang. This role brought Rick to Hollywood fame, but also inadvertently closed many other doors. Rick's decision to abandon his career as a financial lawyer on Wall Street to pursue acting plunged him into a prolonged period of instability, unstable income, fleeting roles, and the pressure to prove his choice wasn't a mistake weighed heavily on his mental state. Short-lived romantic relationships with models and people in the entertainment industry also failed to alleviate his difficulties. Instead, they only highlight the loneliness of a man who always has to appear strong. Rick's deepest pain doesn't stem from financial instability, but from the limitations placed on his roles. He's consistently typecast as an Asian villain, from Zhao in Die Another Day to Kang in Olympus Has Fallen. These roles are memorable, but repetitive, forcing Rick to confront the reality that he's being viewed through the lens of preconceived notions. Over time, weariness builds, transforming his initial ambition into a relentless struggle, simply to avoid being forgotten. His prolonged single status wasn't a romantic choice, but a consequence of an unstable life. Rick admits that short-lived relationships were never deep enough to alleviate his feelings of loneliness. By 2026, Rick Yun, 55, is still active in film and business, but at a slower pace. His estimated net worth of around $3 million reflects a career path that has been relatively stable, not explosive. Chad Lindbergh as Jesse. Chad Lindbergh was born on November 1, 1976, in Mount Vernon, Washington, USA. At age 25, he played Jesse, an inexperienced technician whose naivety stands out amidst the brutal world of street racing and the Fast and Furious franchise. Jesse's untimely death on screen seemed like a bad omen for Chad's difficult future. After the film, Lindbergh couldn't escape the vicious cycle of supporting roles. Opportunities were scarce, income was unstable, and he lived with constant career insecurity. Throughout his time on October Sky and later Supernatural, Chad never shook off the worry. Where would his next role come from? A silent pressure eroded his confidence year after year. His greatest pain came from friendship. The death of Paul Walker in 2013 devastated Chad, not only because he lost a friend, but also because it reignited his own fear of the fragility of the entertainment industry. He suffered from prolonged depression and also had to cope with epilepsy, causing him anxiety about both his health and the demanding nature of the filming schedule. Lindbergh's love life was largely empty. Unmarried and without a family of his own, he openly admitted to feeling lonely amidst the crowds of Hollywood. Years of appearances on the show Sons of Anarchy and various reality TV shows were enough to keep him in the spotlight, but not enough to erase the feeling of always being on the sidelines. By 2026, Chad Lindbergh, 50 years old, continues to work as an independent actor and producer. His estimated net worth of around $2 million reflects a career that is not flashy, but enduring. Jesse died in Fast and Furious, but Chad Lindbergh lives on, played by Johnny Strong as Leon. Johnny Strong was born on July 22, 1974, in Los Angeles County, California, USA. At the age of 27, he played Leon, the quiet, loyal racer who always stayed out of the spotlight in the 2001 Fast and Furious. That role, though understated, opened a tumultuous crossroads in Strong's life. Following his initial success, the pressure to choose a path plunged Strong into prolonged stress. He gradually abandoned acting to pursue music with his band manager, signing with a major record label before transitioning to independent recording and release. His departure from Hollywood wasn't an escape, but a difficult choice between career stability and the call of creativity. During that period, constant travel, recording, and performing gradually eroded his private life. His marriage to Alexandra Holden couldn't withstand that disjointed lifestyle. Work pressures, long distances, and differing priorities quietly led to the breakdown of their marriage. Even when he returned to the screen in Black Hawk Down, 2001, and later in Sinners and Saints, he continued to work his own way, refusing to compromise. His multifaceted path, encompassing martial arts, music, writing, and directing, was both his livelihood and his burden. Performing his own stunts, pursuing a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and composing music for his films helped Strong maintain discipline, but also kept him away from the glitz and glamour of mainstream fame. Today, Johnny Strong, 52, continues to make independent films and compose music of his own choosing. His estimated net worth of around $1 million reflects a career that never followed the crowd, one that provided enough to live, enough to create, and enough to understand that the price of freedom is sometimes silence. J. Rule as Edwin. J. Rule was born on February 29, 1976, in Queens, New York, USA. At the age of 25, he played Edwin, a reckless street racer representing a world where fame and danger go hand in hand, in the 2001 film Fast and Furious. The film role came at a time when Ja Rule was at the peak of his music career, but it also marked the first sign of a turbulent period ahead. Behind the glamour of platinum-certified albums like Veni Vidi Vici and Pain is Love lay immense pressure. His rapid rise to fame had fractured his personal life and disrupted his relationships. His marriage to Aisha Murray, seemingly solid on the surface, was challenged by infidelity and a demanding work schedule, forcing Ja Rule to constantly balance family responsibilities with the temptations of fame. The downfall began when the law intervened. Charges related to guns and tax evasion landed J. Rule in jail, cutting short his creative momentum just as he was trying to maintain his position in the music industry. From the recording studio to prison bars, he faced the harshest silence of his life. His appearances in films like Half Past Dead and Scary Movie 3 were an attempt to keep his name from completely disappearing. Not long after his release, J. Rule's name was once again associated with the Fyre Festival. Although he was later exonerated legally, his public image was severely damaged. Media pressure, public skepticism, and a feeling of betrayal pushed Ja Rule into isolation, leading him to write a memoir and confront himself instead of avoiding his past. Music was no longer a competition for chart positions, but a place to recount his indelible mistakes. Now 50 years old, J. Rule remains active in music and television, but at a slower pace, focusing on family and personal projects. His estimated net worth of around $4 million no longer reflects the peak he once reached, but it tells the story of a life full of dramatic events. Reggie Lee as Lance Nguyen. Reggie Lee, whose real name is Reggie Telmo Valdez, was born on October 4, 1975, in Quezon City, Philippines. In 2001, at the age of 26, he appeared in the Fast and Furious films as Lance Nguyen, a member of Dominic Toretto's Asian racing team, a short but symbolically significant role. This role launched Reggie into Hollywood, while also presenting him with invisible barriers that took him many years to overcome. After the film, Reggie quickly felt the pressure of being typecast into roles based on race. He was constantly offered small roles as quiet, unremarkable Asian characters, leaving his career in a constant tug-of-war. He had work but no clear direction. Changing his last name from Valdez to Lee was not simply a name change, but a painful attempt to break free from casting prejudice. During this period, he devoted all his energy to stage and television, both to make a living and to maintain the belief that he could go further. This prolonged stress directly affected his personal life. Reggie kept his marriage a secret, but those close to him knew that he had spent many years alone, pouring all his energy into work to fill the feeling of being abandoned. When he took on the role of Bill Kim in Prison Break, followed by Sergeant Drew Woo in Grimm, he finally found space to showcase the psychological depth. The intelligent, morally conflicted characters, reflecting his own real-life struggles. Late success didn't erase the scars. Reggie admits that the pressure to maintain his position in the industry forced him to adhere to a near-rigorous discipline, constantly fearing that even a short break could lead to being replaced. Between the Grimm era and The Dark Knight Rises, he opted for long-running television projects to maintain stability, accepting less attention in exchange for greater acting depth, a quiet and deliberate trade-off. By 2026, Reggie Lee is 51 years old and still working steadily on television roles such as All Rise and The Lincoln Lawyer. His estimated net worth of around $2 million reflects a quiet but enduring career built on patience, professional integrity, and a long struggle for recognition not for his background but for his genuine abilities. Matt Schultz as Vince. Matt Schultz was born on July 3, 1972 in St. Louis, Missouri, USA. In 2001, at the age of 29, he played Vince, the hot-tempered friend who always teeters on the line between loyalty and betrayal in the Fast and Furious film series. The character seemed to mirror Schultz's own life, intense, unstable, and always on the verge of going astray. Off-screen, Schultz's first marriage had quietly fallen apart. His severe drug addiction in his youth had made him irritable, impulsive, and increasingly unreliable, gradually eroding his partner's trust. Repeated promises to quit, followed by relapses, fractured his marriage and left him with persistent guilt for years. The recovery process was not just a physical battle, but a psychological one as well. Schultz later admitted to suffering liver and neurological damage from substance abuse, forcing him to stop just as opportunities in Hollywood were opening up. During the filming of Blade 2 and The Transporter, his roles were often downplayed or cut short. The accumulated frustration led to subsequent romantic relationships that were also short-lived and unstable. In the following years, Schultz distanced himself from the big spotlight, opting for smaller projects to maintain his sanity. Writing and directing. The Acquirer didn't bring him fame, but it gave him a sense of control, something he lost too soon. When he returned as Vince in Fast 5, it wasn't just a professional comeback, but an acknowledgement that he had surpassed himself. Today, Matt Schultz, 54, is still quietly active in independent film and music. His estimated net worth of around $3 million reflects a career that never truly took off, but it clearly shows the price paid for addiction, the loss of his marriage, his health, and opportunities that will never come back.